When you're building APIs on the web, there are several ways you can build APIs on the web. These include HTTP RPC, and what this means is using HTTP and remote procedure call to call into things like methods across the web. The verbs themselves are included in the APIs, like get customers, insert invoice, delete customer, and each of these endpoints ends up being a separate URI. So for each of the types of operations you're doing, you're going to expose a new URI. This is more of the old school model of how you would expose an API on the web. Another model is what is often called these days RESTful. It includes the idea of URI endpoints that point to functionality, but they're using resource URIs instead. They're leveraging HTTP verbs so that if you're going against, let's say, a customer endpoint, that using get against that endpoint is going to retrieve data, doing a post against that endpoint is going to insert new data, etc. It also includes concepts like a stateless server and content negotiation so that the caller can specify what kind of data they want and that the server itself is stateless. There's no notion of we're within a single call on a server so that they can be scaled out better. Lastly is this whole notion of something called HADOS, or hypermedia as the engine of application state. A horrific acronym, but the idea here is to extend the REST-based interfaces to include things like relationships in what is called hypermedia, so that the content of what you're getting back will describe the kinds of things you can do with it. So if you get a customer back, there may be a link to it that says this is the actual customer, this is how you add a invoice for this customer, this is how you check the balance for a customer. It's going to include links to allow you to be more self-describing. We're going to cover RESTful and HADOS in this course, but most of the course is going to be about this RESTfulness. When it comes to REST, there's a lot of different opinions out there, and they can be very entrenched in their opinions. I prefer the approach of what I like to call pragmatic REST. REST is just a useful set of rules, but they tend to be dogmatic. The list of what makes an API truly RESTful can tend to bog down the pragmatic job of exposing an API that users and customers actually need. Developers end up spending a lot of their time making sure they fit into the religion of REST instead of actually getting the job done they need to get done. At the end of the day, an API has to serve your users and customers, not serve the people who are going to tell you whether it's truly RESTful or not RESTful. I don't want to take this concept of REST itself and just throw it out. I want to take what's really good about it, and in the situations where you can be completely RESTful, do that. But if you need to break the rules to be pragmatic, I propose you do that. This also means doing just enough REST to get the job done. I wouldn't worry about, heading to your local user group or hearing at a conference that one of the 6 rules or one of the 12 rules that someone has dictated is what REST actually is, that you're breaking those rules. But if you're getting the job done and really adhering to the benefits of REST, I think that's good enough.